if I had a really nice, take that into detail, well, I can't always, I can't always get what I want out of there. So I want to be able to. Hey everybody, welcome to our next live version of Josh Says Mean Things. We're hanging out here at the Three-Legged Goat in downtown Pflugerville. We got some El Rincon tacos, we got some Three-Legged Goat wine and beer, and we're hanging out and having a good time. I wish you were here. It's a good time. Look, we got a little crowd out here and everything. Hey everybody, what's up? Yeah, there we go. Yeah, see, this is fun. This is fun. It's a nice fall day. We got a good breeze. We got everything good, just kind of chilling. Um, yeah, it's October. It's kind of the busy, fun time of the year. I know our schedules have been super crazy lately. It's getting a little bumpy. Um, our schedule's been real busy the last couple of weeks, and I hope that y'all are having fun and doing what y'all want to do. But I know that I'm a little bit ready for that Thanksgiving break coming up because it's been hog wild here the last few weeks here at Azulux. So yeah, thanks to everybody for coming out. We got Bill and Steven and Alan and Brian and Marie and all kind of happy, friendly folk. Today we're going to be doing our Josh Says Mean Things, where we go through your user submitted photos and we say mean things about them. That's what we do. Um, so yeah, I also just want to preface by saying, hey, there's some big changes in Adobe that came out today, not only in Lightroom with their new AI selections and masking tools. That's certainly a big change, very big change. They had to rewrite the entire architecture just to make that work. The other thing that came out, they have a new Lightroom Academy. It's completely free. Um, and it's going to be going through, starting from the very beginning, a whole bunch of self-paced lessons. I've taken a little bit of a look at it. It's going to be a great resource to kind of get started with. As Lightroom gets more and more complex, I think it's going to be a great way to kind of learn and get up to speed on what's new going on with Lightroom and the Adobe infrastructure. So yeah, it's called Lightroom Academy. And they have some stuff now, and they'll be adding to it over the next couple months. So pretty excited about that as a way to kind of supplement some of the other things that we do education-wise. So yeah, check that out. The new update's supposed to be rolling out through the rest of this week. We're seeing my phone got it, but not my desktop, but my laptop did. So I don't know. It's kind of coming and going as they propagate it out, but it is a really big change. So, yeah. Anyway, this is Josh. This is my little windscreen right here because it's a little bit breezy today. You're my favorite, right? That's the nice little banner here, Three-Legged Goat. It looks like it says you're my flavor. I'm not your flavor. I'm your favorite. So here we go. All right, we're starting off. Oh man, I can't see comments because I never updated that. But yeah, I wish you were here too. Come on, Killer Chi, get over here. We're having a good time. Yeah, so this first photo is from our good friend, Miss Jade. She sent me a photo, and then she sent me, no, I like this one better, and then she sent me another one, said, no, wait, I like this one better. So we've gotten a couple submissions from her. This is one of her spooky season shoots, and she was very excited about that. So, I think there's some good things working here. I really like the backlight coming through. It looks like there's maybe a little bit of either lens flare or a little bit of haze. I'm not sure which one we're going with there. Um, I like all of that. I think the lighting's good. I think the costuming is good. I would say that compositionally it falls apart just a little bit. Our subject's dead center, which not the end of the world, but then we lose her hand, and you kind of Captain Hooked her there. There's no hand, and then the horns, which are black and shadowy, are right into a tree. And so you don't really pick up all of that information. I would have liked to have seen this photo maybe like 10 degrees more moved around to the right, so that the sun is hitting off the horns a little bit more, and we get that big tree trunk out from just behind her head. So I think the vibe is right, the color's right, but I think compositionally, I think we're kind of falling on our action, where we're. Are you not seeing that? Oh, where we're not seeing the hi Alan, where we're not seeing the shape of the horns, and we're not getting an emotion from her. Right, she's got these cool horns and all that going on, and we're just not seeing the fullness of what could be. That spooky season, right? We're not getting a pose from her. She's kind of looking over her shoulder, kind of nonchalantly. So I would have liked to have seen a little bit more there. Let's see if we can get this working here. All right, this one's from Miss Maddie Beatty. Good job on light wanding. I know this bridge. I feel like I've shot cheerleaders on this bridge with you. So good job on getting that executed. I know that it's kind of an advanced technique. Uh, and so I think that that part's good. For me, the distracting part is the direction of the flash is putting a lot of energy into the floorboards leading up to the subjects. And so your eyes are kind of going to their feet instead of to their faces. And so we want to have lighting on eyes, not on toes, right? We want the light to come up, not down. So a negative gradient in Lightroom or Capture One, whatever. But a negative gradient, I think is going to help a lot to bring the tension back up to the eyes and the faces of what's going on. We also have some geometric issues that could have been corrected. The bridge is kind of running askew. I think with photos like this, I think we really need like very straight lines so that the curve and the shape of the form is against the stillness of the architecture. The other thing, I feel like the subjects are a little bit dark. I feel like their faces aren't bright enough, especially with all that blue light behind them. You really need a lot of exposure, probably another stop of light on them to bring them up so that you don't kind of lose yourself in just that blue and the backlight. And so negative gradient, and then maybe bring up some of them. You could do this in the HSL panel in Lightroom if you go to the luminance and bring up just their skin tones, which are probably going to be red and orange. And then we can bring down the blue luminance of the light wand and then bring our entire exposure up. And you can shift the balance of all of that a little bit. And I think just that little tweak would make this stand out a little bit more. Yeah, how we doing over there? We doing okay? Am I talking too fast? No? Okay, good. You can't hear me? Oh man, I can talk louder. Thanks, Jeff. I'm somebody's flavor. I guess my wife. That's whose flavor I am. Um, so yeah, this one comes from Chris Cena, former Austin resident, now Maryland resident. I think this is a nice landscape. For me, landscapes like this, the more I get into not shooting landscapes, no, the more I look at them, the more I realize how much dodging and burning goes into really making sure that exactly the bright spots are the spots that we want the viewer to see. Um, in this case, the lower right is a little bit brighter. The leaves, the brown leaves on the ground are a little bit hotter and brighter than the waterfall. And I feel like the waterfall is the point of focus. And so darkening maybe with a radial brush or even just brushing in some minus highlights on those leaves. And then maybe a little bit darkening on those on the back foliage. I think it's going to make that waterfall stand out just a little bit more. The other thing with these long exposure waterfalls, it tends to go to white, and so being able to control that can be a very difficult task as well. Even underexposing the waterfall more than you might think, so that you can kind of bring it up later if you need. But making that the focus and kind of darkening our edges so that the thing that's in focus is in focus, right? The thing that you want the viewer to look at and to appreciate is the thing that they see first. And in my case, my eyes kind of drift down to the lower right where those leaves are, and not to the water coming in. Um, Otherwise, I think the color under that, the gold, the green, the yellows, I think all the coloration is good. I think the exposure is good. Just a little bit of tweak of where, what's the brightest and what's the next brightest. I think that's something to think about as we edit. A lot of times I say out loud what I want to edit with my hand. I say, oh, I need to take this down. And so I let my hand follow my voice as a way to kind of help me in my process when I'm post-processing. The other thing for a photo like this, maybe getting a little bit lower and shooting through that rustle of leaves as a way to kind of put them out of focus and in the foreground, but not to draw so much attention to them where the texture of the leaves isn't competing with the texture of the water. Something else to think about. Oh, come on, go next. There we go. All right. Now, what is this little boy doing? Um, yes. Any guesses what he's doing?
That's why I'm putting my hand there.
Yeah.
Sneaking on the picture.
I don't know, because when I'm standing like that next to a tree, I can tell you what I'm usually doing. Let's see. I can make this. They say we're watching my live feed. I can't make that any smaller. I'm trying. I wonder if I do full screen. I don't know. That's a good question. Let's see if I can go full screen. We're just trying all kind of things right now. Tools. I don't know. I'll have to work on that, Alan. But it's interesting because when I'm faced to a tree, especially when I was that age, I can tell you the one thing I'd be doing. So I'm not really sure exactly what's going on here. But there's also a tree house climbing up to a tree that is no longer there. So it's also very sad, right? Maybe this is the kid's tree house that was there. You don't know, right? There's some questions going on. I know this is the Bastrop Fires, and I only know that because that's what the image was titled. So yeah, I think it makes you think a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, is he peeing or is he climbing? Those are the questions we want to ask today. The other thing, I feel like he's a little blue, but that may just be my screen. I don't know. I maybe want to warm this up. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where I would go. I don't think the color is the point of this photo. I think it's the act of missing something that used to be there. Yeah. Oh, hey, we're next to the firehouse. Yay. There's also an RV van to our side that looks like, Brian, help me out. What was the John Candy movie where they're in the RV? It came on, was it not Stripes, is it?
Yeah.
Stripes? Yeah, there's an RV that looks suspiciously like the Stripes RV van that just went past. Also Spaceballs, yeah, also Spaceballs. It wouldn't be a Mean Things without some movie references that I can't remember. I can see them in the movie, but I can't remember their names. That seems pretty common. Last time we had another one. Um, yeah, I mean, I think the overall exposure is good, and I think tonality is good. I feel like he's a little cold, white balance. That shadow on the bottom. I mean, it's interesting because it adds a little bit of warm blue contrast, but I feel like the warm isn't warm enough, then cold isn't cold enough. So maybe amplify that to bring it out. Yeah. All right, this one comes from Kira. She says, I kind of like the composition of this, but it was good, but not great. Yeah, so from shooting a lot of weddings and a lot of engagement photos and a lot of engagement photos and a lot of weddings, I would say if you have a choice to make your lighting hit on either the guy or the girl, 99% of the time I'm going to have the lighting hit the girl. I feel like her face is a little bit too much in shadows. I think it's an interesting moment between them. I like the reflection in the table. I think all of that is good. I like how the room feels lit, but it kind of bothers me that I can't see her face, and it's kind of creating some shadows that are a little bit more than I would want. So how would I fix this? One, instead of that light coming across from the side, boom it over their heads a little bit more. We can create a pool of light around them instead of a directional light that's coming across and lighting his face. So imagine if that light was kind of just boom, just out of frame of that composition, and we could create a pool of light from them instead of that light running from left to right like it is, where his face is lit but hers isn't. If we boomed it and kind of angled it down, that light would kind of fall, and it would automatically make their faces brighter and then darken as it got closer to the ground. The other thing, again, a negative gradient on the foreground, that reflection is so bright to bring that gradient down, so that the only choice we have is to look at their face and not let it fall off to the lower left where we see that, I don't know, the edges of the table, they're just kind of overly bright. I think the overall, the color, right, with that blue couch, the warmth, I think those things work. Exposure's fine, composition's good. I just would have moved the direction of my light and then put a gradient at the bottom just to really keep it about them, and not let your eye wander so much around. And that's usually such a problem with portraits, is really, really focusing the light on the subject and doing what we can either with radial or dodging and burning as a way to really focus the viewer's eyes on just them. Yeah. Yeah, that shadow on there as well. Yeah, I see that. I see that as well. Um, yeah, I don't know if that's coming from sunlight or if that's coming from a secondary light. I'm not sure. But yeah, that shadow's a little bit. It's on the edge of the track. There's also like a star point on the couch. I don't mind it. It would have been cool if they were right between it as a way to focus your attention on them. Something else to think about. Yeah. Ooh, this one comes from Miss Mark, Miss Mark, Mr. Mark Brennan. I was gonna say it's very cool. Shout out to Mark and his wife Jessica, who just got a co-producer credit on Dune. And I wish I could have gone to your viewing party. I'm sorry I couldn't make it, but I'm super excited for y'all. I know that she was gone for like 9 months making that happen, but super cool. I think the symmetry of this photo is really neat. I had to check to make sure Brian didn't take this photo because it feels a lot like yours. Um, just black and white symmetry, and this really flows into what I would call a pattern interrupted, right? We have all the symmetry, we have arcs, we have lines going through, we have a foreground, a midground, a background, and then we have a solitary person walking through the scene, right? So we're setting up all of the symmetry and desolation just with one person walking through. If you want a historical context of somebody who did architecture with one person and stark serene, look up Balthazar Karab. I'll type it in the comments. But it's something that he did as an architecture photographer, and it kind of reminded me of the stark, serene nature of him. His sons actually are still doing his architecture photography company, even though it started in like the 50s or 60s. They're probably one of the top 10 architecture photographers to ever live. They did a lot of stuff in the Midwest. Anyway, this kind of reminded me of that in tonality and just one solitary figure walking through a scene. So check that out if you're interested in architecture photography. But Mark, I really like this one. It's pretty killer. And then we have three cows. This is also from Mark. This is from Ireland, which is no fair. It's not fair that you get to submit photos from Ireland. Um, yeah. What's that? Yeah. Well, that's where he's from. Yeah. Do you remember me telling you the story about I was going to have you drive around a dad that was in the IRA? That's his son taking these photos. Yeah. There's a whole story we'll tell offline about that one. Again, I think this is a good example of rule of odds, right? We have three, right? We have 1, 2, 3 cows, not 1, 2, and not 1, 2, 3, 4. So rule of odds working there. I think we have a good foreground out of focus with a bob barn, a little bit of that hay. Hey, remind me to tell you a funny joke about that later as well. Not, I can't do it online. I will be canceled pretty quick. But I love kind of the glow and the toning of this, that kind of warm and green. I think so many times we see warm and blue, but it's not as often that we see warm and more on the green tone. So I think that has a good fit here. And I like that it's a little bit of a pattern interrupted again with mama cow, and baby cow. I had to check to see what gender all the cows were, but we have female, female, and calf. So again, a pattern interrupted, right? Adult, adult, and then a baby. So good work there. I like that kind of glow coming through there. This is from Miss Tiffany. Again, I think there's a lot working for this. We have good tone, we have good color, a little bit of a pose, right? A little bit of that elbow to give yourself separation. I think a lot of times when we're working on posing, I'm trying to get arms off the body, right? If our arms are on our body, our silhouette is the outside of our arms. Once we get the arms outside the body, now our silhouette is our rib cage. So good job there getting that arm off. It feels a little awkward, but we'll work on that. I don't mind. I think she's slightly underexposed, but I think that works for this. I wouldn't add more exposure to her face. I think it's correct here. I love this kind of golden field, good portrait there. Some things that maybe I would try shooting from a little bit lower angle, getting her head above the horizon, and getting more of those that grass as a foreground element and shooting through it to put more like stuff in front of the lens, shoot through stuff. I think that's always a good thing to try. Maybe there's another version of that, but certainly something to try. Again, we're dead centered, which not the end of the world. I think it's fine. But just try some, putting them on one side, putting them on the other, expose just half their face and maybe not their full face. See what that looks like. I'm not saying you deliver all those photos, but at least experiment with it a little bit and kind of see which way it goes. But I think exposure, white balance, all that's good. You know, also maybe don't try to be so static. Maybe have her run through the field, do a little bit of what's the singing movie? The hills are alive with the sound of music. Sound of music.
Yeah.
Sound of music, right? You know, have some motion, right? We have this grass. We could do the gladiator hands walking through the field of Elijah, right? You know, there's some things you could do with this. So, you know, she's posing, that's fine, but add some more action. I think that could be something to work on. I saw some of the other ones you submitted. I think that's just the way to go, right? I think we're getting a little static in our posing. So have them do something, right? Run, jump, smile, laugh, throw something at them, do something to get an expression. More than just kind of stand there and smile. So that's where I would go with this. This one's from Mr. Kosh. He said, "I'm driving to Houston. Wish I could be there." I think he told me he has. What did he say? He has. There's 8 weeks left in this year, and he has 12 weddings. Whew. Yeah, have fun, Kosh. Good job. So, right, Indian weddings, great for color, great for pop. There's always going to be some gold. Um, you know, I think the color, the depth of field, the out of focus, all that's working good. The big thing that I want from this photo, the way the light is, I wish the light was down like 6 inches just to fill in more of the whites of her eyes. I feel like she has very big, very like expressive eyes, but the light just isn't quite hitting the eyes enough. It just feels a little bit, especially with people with deep set eyes, when the light gets above that ridge of the brow, we want that light to come down just a little bit more to kind of fill in those lights. Now, what it does do is really accentuate those cheekbones. And I think that part's good, but man, just a little bit of fill light in there, or just lower that light just a little bit so that it fills in those eyes. That's really my only complaint. The other thing I would do, I know I'm a broken record on this, but the bottom of her sari is brighter than the top of her face. And so I would negative gradient that up so that the highlights are killed on the sari so that your eyes are coming back to her eyes. Especially because that light isn't filling in her eyes as much, just right, especially like on her like clavicle area, and kind of that center part of her neckline. It's a little bit hotter where it's receiving that light, whereas that face is kind of deflecting light a little bit. So just a little bit of tweak there. You can also do a radial gradient around her face and just bring it up a little bit. Now with a new version of Lightroom, you can just select the face and brighten it. Crazy. I know. Crazy. Hey, I was here for this shoot. This is from Steven. What's up, Steven? This is Jess, who did our first photo. She also modeled for us in one of our workshops called Let's Get Weird. I know. Look, I'm even wearing the shirt today. Let's Get Weird. Weird mode. What's up? This is one of our rain shoots that we set up. It's a 3-light setup where we have a light in the back, a light in the back, and a light in the front. And we spray people with water hoses. It's a lot of fun. It can also be very cold if you don't do it during the right time of the year. So, you know, I like this photo. I set up the lighting, so I kind of like the way the lighting is because it's my preference. You know, there's some good action. I like that her hands are in more of a dynamic pose than some of the other photos that we've seen. I like that the crook of her elbow is creating a triangle, and then the other elbow is also creating a triangle. And I think those two poses, right, that we have those double triangles, that's adding some more dynamism, is that a word? Dynamism to the photo, a little bit more energy to the photo. She's also getting sprayed with a water hose, so, you know, that's fun. The hair's kind of flopping around and doing her thing. The green is actually her hair. That's not like a gel light. She has green and red hair. That's just the way it is. Hey, Steven, did you use Pro Panel on this?
No.
How did you, anything,
Lightroom.
just Lightroom? Okay, cool. All Lightroom edit? Did you do minus texture?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, a little minus texture. That's what I thought. I would have, for my edit from the same set, I amp up the rain. I create a filter with instructions outside the circle, and then add clarity and add whites to the raindrops outside of the face. And that way it doesn't add a bunch of texture and clarity on the skin. It only adds it to the rain. So I call it rain pop. It's just a way to kind of make that light. You could also brush it in if you wanted, just a way to keep those instructions off the face. But this would be another good example of what we're going to be able to do starting this week in Lightroom, where we'd be able to select just the face or just the subject and then invert that selection, and we could work on the rain and the black independently of the skin and the hair. And that's going to be a huge advantage going forward and speeding up our workflow where we don't have to take it into Photoshop to create a mask and then do all that stuff. it'll allow us to stay inside Lightroom for longer. And if I can stay inside Lightroom for longer, I'm faster. I only get paid when I'm shooting, so anytime I can do it, anytime I can stay all inside Lightroom, I win. Mark says, oh, YouTube being crazy. Yeah, Papa Brennan mentioned. Yeah, sorry, that maybe shouldn't have gone out online. But yeah, he's awesome. Love that guy. Awesome. All right. Where are we at? Is that it? No, that's not it. Oh, we have a dog photo. Yay, puppies. This comes from Kevin. Thanks, Kevin, for helping out on our shoot yesterday. I appreciate it. This is his dog, Lucky. So hi, Lucky. You're a good boy. For me, I think the soft lighting is really nice here. Good expression, good eyes. On a photo like this, something that I think would take it to that next level would be a fill card just outside where that dog is. We have this nice soft light coming across, but then that left ear and the left eye get a little too dark. And so it doesn't feel as open and airy as it could. Even though the background's pretty white and the comforter is pretty white, we're losing some of that brightness on the left side of Lucky here because that light isn't filling back in on the dark side of his face. So either in post, I don't know, boosting shadows or something, but the easiest way to do it while shooting would be have like either a white reflector, a white foam core, or something like that, where that light that's coming in from the window is hitting that reflector and then filling back in on that eye to bring up that exposure. And that way it kind of evens it out on both sides. But otherwise, cute paws, good expression, tongue, eyes, ears, all perky. Everything's good. That's just the one thing that I would change there. Just bringing that fill just a little bit so that the other thing you could do in Lightroom, do a gradient tool, maybe like half a stop, and just start it on the right side and drag it across, and it'll fill in that. It'll act like a fill, right? If you don't have it, if it was a spur of the moment, it's just a way you can kind of come back and do that in post. So yeah, but Lucky's cute. Good boy. Don't remember who took this. If you took this, I'm sorry, I don't remember. Good starburst. The trick to getting starburst photos, f16 or above. And if you want to know how many blades your aperture has, count how many starbursts you have and divide by 2. So an 8-bladed aperture will have 16 pinpoints, 9-bladed aperture will have 18, so on and so forth. Generally, most lenses start at f16 and above to get this, so it's pretty cool. I think with a photo like this, we can go 2 ways with it. We can either go silhouette and make everything just black and do just water, just sky, and then the shape of the buildings, or we can go and fill in those blacks and raise our shadows a little bit to give a little bit more definition to it. The other problem that you have when you're shooting f16, f18, f22, dust spots. Yay, dust spots. Who doesn't love a good 35 dust spots in their photo, right? Everybody's raising their hands, right? And I can count 1, 2, 3 on this image at least. And so that's where spot healing is going to be your friend. What's that? Yeah, there's a tool for that. There is indeed. There is a tool for that. And so just be careful. When you're getting those starbursts, you're really going to see those starbursts. Spot healing tool in Lightroom or the healing brush in Photoshop will take care of those, but just something to work with. But again, I think for exposure, I would have liked to have seen, since we already have a hint of exposure in the buildings, to go all the way and to raise the shadow values all the way through, just to give that little bit of detail into what we're seeing. So. Cool. Volleyball shot. This is a shot with a slower shutter speed. I'm guessing somewhere in the 60th to 100th range without looking at the metadata. But I think this is cool because our subject is mostly frozen. And so we can feel that motion, and then she's kind of frozen enough to where it works as an image. Now, I will also say, for those of you who have ever shot in a middle school or a high school gym, it is absolutely the worst light in the world. Oftentimes, you'll have daylight coming in from the top, and then you'll have an assortment of like different colored bulbs. You'll have fluorescent, sodium vapor, but then you have like 3 different generations of each of those lights. So you might have like 7 different white balances. And a lot of times they're operating on different hertz. Their fluorescents are on 40 hertz. The sodium vapors are on 60 hertz. And the daylight's on daylight. And so depending on your shutter speed, you're catching like 2/3 of a cycle or 1 1/3 of a cycle. And so 3 shots in a row might go like neutral, pink, green, neutral, pink, green. They're the worst. High school gyms are the worst lighting in the world. I hate them. Me odio. I said in Spanish. That's how bad I don't like it. So actually, this is a pretty good job of controlling for that lighting. You can see the skin's a little green, but overall, pretty good for what I know this gym to be. But I like the motion. I like the kind of depth of field that this has. Yeah, it's a cool photo. I like it. High school gym suck. Uh-oh. There's Brian. I know that photo. I knew it was you without even... Funny story. I just had to explain to my 5th grade son what this meant because he did it on the after school van and didn't know what it meant, but he did it to another kid. It had nothing to do with your photo. But that was a fun conversation. My wife was like, "You get this one." Thanks, babe. Appreciate it. Yeah, great, right? I mean, energy, excitement. You can't see his face, and I don't care. Right? We get his guitar, we get the other guy's face, we get some action, doing a little Johnny Cash. To hell with you. Black and white, just like good music photography can be. So it's fun. Shot this on the fisheye. Yeah. Cool. It's good. Good photo. Where was it at? Oh, yeah. Yeah. I shot a show there like. Oh wow. Yeah. It's just got energy, right? I mean, that's what you want out of music photography. You want to feel like you're there. I think I've said it before, but I try to judge photos as they're attempting to be, right? If it's a movie and it's a comedy, I want to judge it by how much I laugh. If it's a drama, by how much I cry. By a horror movie, how much do I jump, right? If it's a music photo, I want to feel like I'm there. I want to feel like I'm in the front row. Success. Is this yours too? Rule of odds. There's 5 of them. It's cool. It's cool. I just wish it was like this much to the left, because the nose of the 5th van is chopped, and you have space on the right. That's my critique. Interesting processing. What happened there? We have like pink, blue split zone. You trying some color grading?
It was in the late afternoon. I can't remember what the weather was like. I purposely screwed with the gradient color in the sky to give it a sort of surreal look to it. Initially, when I took the photo, I wanted to emphasize the rust of the panel trucks with the gold, wheat or tall grass or whatever, and the blue sky. But as I was processing it, I went in a completely different direction. I made it more surreal.
Yeah, I think it works. I think the surreal works. I like the way the light kind of comes across the van, and then the sky is it makes the subject pop, right? Because we darken the sky, we play with that, kind of give it pink and split tone highlights. It's not supposed to be normal.
There's a funny story to this. So we were coming back from our dad's house, and I pass by this place every time we go out there.
Mm-hmm.
And the trucks are always there, and I always want to take a picture. And so on the way back, I was like, bear with me, and my camera's like, we're gonna stop for 5 minutes, I can get the shot, and then we'll go on. And so she's driving, she pulls over, she lets me take a picture. It actually was about 5 minutes. It was pretty quick. I knew exactly how I was gonna frame it and what I was gonna do.
You know exactly that it took 5 minutes because you're about to find out why.
So this is, I don't know the name of the road, but you pass right by the front entrance
Coda? Yeah.
So I stopped to take a picture, then we continue on, and we notice that there's like a 3-car line going on, and I see flames beyond the 3-car line, and then behind us here comes the SD11, and with their fire trucks. Basically, the 5 minutes I took to take this picture saved us from being in the middle of that accident.
Wow.
That accident happened literally about 5 to 6 minutes before we got there.
Wow. So if you didn't hear that, taking this photo saved his life. There you go. Like photography saves your life. That's the moral of this story.
One fatality and 2 people.
Oof. Oof. My sister missed a wreck like that by like 2 minutes in Seguin. Like an 18-wheeler ran a car off the road and fatality. Yeah. She was there like 2 minutes after it happened.
They actually named this photo that one time a photo saved our life.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think too that there's so many places that I see as I drive, like, I need to take a photo there, and I never do. And then, especially in Pflugerville, there was a place I want to take a photo, and now it's a strip mall.
Interesting note to that. The photo I took the last live one that was at, the one about the old mid-century park bench.
Yep.
I went back up to Oklahoma for another film, like last month. They demolished it.
Yeah. Yeah. Take the photos while you can. Take your photos while you can, because there's places I've driven by that I'm like, oh, I'll come back and get a photo, and then it's gone.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, carry your camera with you, or carry a camera with you as much as you can. Don't let it get stolen, but otherwise carry one with you. Yeah. Yep. Is that the last one? Oh, nope. Then we have wedding rings from Jeff Pagalis. Yeah, it's cool. Nice black and white. Good tonality. I like that there's a little bit of line at the very bottom of the piano. I don't know if you can see that, but the very bottom, there's this really cool, like, little highlight. It also reminds me of, like, a level of Mario Kart, but that's a whole other thing. Zooming in close, the one thing I would say is the rings aren't quite in focus, especially as we get closer and closer. Most of the ring shots I do at weddings, I'm usually somewhere between, like, F11 and F16. Because as we get super close to rings, our depth of field gets really, 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 really narrow. It can be like 30 seconds of an inch, where like the front of the stone is in focus and the next ring isn't. So just something to be aware of. A lot of my ring shots are shot at like 1600 ISO, 3200 ISO, because I'm at such a depth of field that if I need any ambient or any strobe coming in, I'm having to bump my ISO because I'm stopped down so much to get these kind of in the moment rings. I would say the other good part about this, it wasn't shot straight on, right? I think the tendency would be to have perfect lines, and then the rings be the curve. But I like that it's kind of tilted to add some triangles, to add some dimension where it feels a little bit more energetic than a straight on ring photo. So I like the tonality. I like the dust and texture of the keys. I think it all works. Just check that focus. It's just a little bit behind the stone of the rings. And that's usually what I try to get. But otherwise, I think it's really cool. Also, good vignette where the rings are the brightest part and everything else just kind of fades to black. Yep. Oh, there we go. Look at that. Wave, audience. Say hi, audience. Hey. There we go. So that's it for the October edition of Josh Says Main Things. Thanks, everybody, for coming out. We had a great time. I'm going to go get another beer. They had a really good Oktoberfest. I'm pretty excited. This is from Three-Legged Goat, downtown Pflugerville. Thanks for everybody who submitted. We have a big submission group. And, yeah, we did call it Mario Kart. That's right. Anyway, I hope you have a great evening. I hope you're getting out and able to shoot in this great weather we're starting to have. Take your camera with you. Go shoot those things that are out there. Go shoot those people that are with you. You never know when those things aren't going to be there anymore. That's the deep thought for today. Y'all have a great night. We'll see y'all. Woo!